Hey guys, this is Kerry Stellar, and I am about to interview Adam Milstead ahead of his fight. He's fighting UFC Fight Night Milwaukee. Pretty excited about this. Adam's going to be fighting at light heavyweight again, and he's fighting Mike Rodriguez. So I'm just going to send him over the link. Get him on in here. You guys can ask some questions and we could talk about his fight career. And Adam has a really cool life outside of the cage that I want to get into as well. So this should be a really fun interview. And also, guys, you could give us a follow here at Facebook, at MMA UK. We are MMA UK on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, and on the net at MMAUK.net. And I'm about to bring Adam in. Give me 1 second. Yes, this has ever worked. Just takes a second to connect and we'll get Adam on in here. And again, you guys can ask questions and I will be reading them to Adam and he'll answer them for you. Adam's just taking 1 second to connect. Oh. One of the fastest ones I've ever had. Usually it takes like a wish to the gods and a sacrifice to get this to actually connect. It's crazy. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm really well, thank you. Really excited to see your fight for UFC Fight Night Milwaukee. You're fighting Mike Rodriguez. How excited are you?
I'm super excited. This will be the first time in a long time I've had two fights within a year. So just ready to go out there and get back on top.
You're fighting at light heavyweight. Now, you've also, your first two fights in the UFC were at heavyweight. How do you feel going into this fight? How's the fight camp going?
Camp's going great. We're constantly working. I mean, today I ended up taking off because I was more worried about recovery than anything else, but we're busting our butt. Mike's the type of guy who's going to want to bring the fight right to the center of the cage. So that's me too. That's what I like to do. So it'll be a fun one. It'll be a war. So I got to make sure I'm ready. So we're hitting the gym hard.
You know, and it's really funny because I did a lot of research on you, although I follow you on social media and you're an awesome guy. You look like you have a great time outside of the cage. Now, you've been wrestling since you were 2 years old, correct?
Yeah, well, second grade.
Second grade. I saw number two in there somewhere.
So I have been wrestling for quite some time, and it has aided me fairly well in my earlier part of my career. But ever since I knocked somebody out, I suddenly became a striker, and so yeah.
And it's crazy because, you know, while I was watching and I'm reading all your stuff, and you have some great knockouts, but you do have a huge wrestling background. And I was looking into Mike Rodriguez, and he likes the ground too. So you know, maybe we'll get to see your ground game in there.
I always like to tell people that grappling and wrestling. Well, I shouldn't say wrestling, but grappling is actually probably more of my stronger suit.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that I prefer to put on a show for everybody who pays their hard-earned money to watch a good fight.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm jumping in there to throw hands and make sure people are interested in watching me. So.
But if it ends on the ground, you're gonna take that win too over there.
Yeah, now I'm gonna have a lot of pressure that he's probably not gonna be used to.
Now, you've been pro for a while. How was your transition? You fought for some of the bigger promotions out there. How was your transition into the UFC? Because that was only, 2-3 years ago?
Yeah, the transition went, well, it went good, obviously, because I won. But it was kind of a little bit of a shell shock for me because prior to that, we were literally the last fight at King of the Cage, we were fighting in a parking garage. So, you know, going from there and then fighting at Mandalay Bay was definitely, you know, like we're walking through the arena, we could look up and see posters of Chuck Liddell and Tito Ortiz and, you know, Royce Gracie, all the greats who fought there. And it's like, man, I get a chance to be in the same arena that these guys fought in. So it was definitely kind of a surreal moment for me, but I think I handled it well.
You did. I watched all your fights. You are awesome in there. And, and are you planning on staying at light heavyweight, or you might, make a return to heavyweight one day?
Um, it's not out of the question to make the return, but light heavyweight seems to be a little bit better on my knees. I don't necessarily have the greatest of knees. I've had 5 knee surgeries and an elbow surgery on top of that. So it's like the weight, my weight plus the combination of a heavyweight who's normally above 260 by the time they fight, it was just too much for me to handle. So I'm happy where I'm at right now. But if the money talks, like maybe I'll make the walk.
Absolutely. Now, you had gotten injured. You injured your knee in one of your fights. I think it was your second fight?
Yeah, the second fight in UFC versus Curtis Blades.
Mm-hmm.
I went into that fight having the idea that I was going to try to keep that fight standing. Obviously, his thing was wrestling. He's a great wrestler, and I knew exactly what I was going to get into. And I knew from the get-go, when you fight a wrestler, you're going to get taken down. There's no way around it. But me thinking maybe he's a wrestler, maybe he's probably good on the ground. I messed up. Once I went on the ground with him, I realized he didn't know anything. But by then, my knee was already torn.
Yeah. How was it coming back from that? Because, people get injured and some people just, take right to it. You saw Anderson Silva made a really crazy quick recovery. How is it recovering and getting back in there and being able to get in there healthy?
It was one of the worst situations I ever dealt with my entire life. It took me well over a year, obviously, to get back into the cage. But even before then, the amount of pain that I went through was so excruciating. Like, I wouldn't really wish that on any one of my opponents. It's just, I don't know if it was a bad surgery or if it was just the amount of damage that was done. It was just miserable. And it was every single day I was doing some sort of rehab. Now, the only bad thing is like Anderson Silva and these high-level guys, this is all they do. And of course they're taken care of by like the top of the food chain as far as like medical treatments and rehab stuff. I didn't have that. I'm a blue collar American who works hard for the very little money that he has. And so I just dealt with, luckily I had a great group of guys down at the rehab place that I went to, and they got me back to where I needed to be. But it was a lot longer than it needed to be. Had I had the resources that those guys had, maybe I would have been back a lot sooner.
Did you grow up in Pittsburgh?
No, not originally. I grew up in a small town out of Calvert County, Maryland. Mm-hmm. And that's how we describe where we live. We do by county in Maryland, but it was way down south near Virginia. And I grew up on the Chesapeake Bay, and then I moved up here about 12 years ago, which pretty much started my MMA career.
Did you find your passion in hunting and fishing here, or was that from where you grew up?
Where I grew up. That was with my dad. He was the guy who pretty much got me into everything. Hunting has been kind of new to me. I got a good friend of mine, Tyler. Me and him have an outdoor page that we are working on, putting a YouTube channel together called The Thirsty Outdoorsman.
I see you guys.
Yeah. So he's been showing me the ropes a little bit about the hunting, that type of area. But me, I was born an angler. I fish, since I was 4 years old. So that was all thanks to my dad.
That is awesome. Do you fish all year round? Because people don't know that there is fishing to be done all year round. You could get all different types of fish in different seasons. Is that something that you do?
Oh yeah, during the summer is like obviously plenty of fishing during the summer, between bass fishing, catfish, and stuff like that. Sometimes we'll take. Depends on where we go. Like we took a trip to Montana for trout and everything like that. But now here in Pittsburgh, a big thing is steelhead fishing. And so I go up to Erie, Pennsylvania. I go do some steelhead fishing and catch these things that look like salmon. They're huge up there, and they run pretty much all winter. And then if it gets cold enough, we get a little bit of ice fishing going. All the lakes freeze over. So I've done that quite a bit. It sucks doing it, but when you catch fish, it feels good. But it sucks when you're actually fishing.
Absolutely. What's your favorite kind of fish to eat? Because you obviously have been around it a long time, so you fish for a lot of different things, and you seem like the kind of guy that's gonna, eat what you catch. What's your favorite kind out there?
I would say, as far as freshwater goes, my favorite would be the walleye. And then if it was saltwater, I think my favorite saltwater fish to eat is flounder.
Yeah, flounder is really great. Fluke is a
Yeah.
very similar fish, which is also amazing. For people that like halibut, it's another similar fish to eat. So yeah, my family used to own a fish market, so I had to pick your brain about that.
That's awesome.
You're an avid beer drinker. What is your favorite kind?
I'm actually wearing it right now. I don't know. Oh, it's backwards, but Dogfish Head.
All right. All right.
Dogfish Head is my favorite is an IPA that they make. It's a simple IPA. It's called a 60-minute IPA. I ever since I started drinking IPAs, I went with Dogfish Head, and for some unknown reason, like it's just my beer of choice. It's good. It's got a lot of flavor. It's not too bitter. Like some of those IPAs can just you got to chew the beer type, But no, this one, Dogfish Head 60-minute, that's my go-to.
Have you ever had Yingling? I know that's one that's predominant from Pennsylvania. I have family down there, and I remember they talked about that a lot.
Oh yeah, Yingling is like that's always like a definite. It's always in the fridge. It's not like something you always go for all the time. But if you need, like for me, a light beer would be a Yingling. So.
Yeah. What apart from that, what do you like to do outside of fighting? Because I mean, you're very, very active, and your social media is awesome. But what do you like to do outside of hunting, outside of fighting, and being a beer aficionado?
Well, I do a number of different things. My one buddy said, he said, you do so much. I was like, yeah, I'm trying. He's like, well, maybe one of these days you'll find something you're good at. I was like, but I play guitar and I make music. So I do a little bit of singing and some stuff like that. So I'm actually working on a couple things, kind of blending the outdoor life with the singing and stuff. So we're going to be putting together a couple like duck hunting songs and fishing songs and stuff like that, kind of more of a country type of setting.
All right.
And so I have actually some studio time that's going to be coming up soon. It just kind of fell in my lap, and I was like, you know what, let's do it. Let's have fun. And on top of that, I'm trying to work on like a acting career. So
I totally see you for that. And I was good. You were talking. You could interview yourself. You're awesome.
I'm passionate about what I do, and the funny thing is, you're like one of the only people that I've ever been interviewed by who actually asked about things I do outside of fighting, which is cool. So I'm very passionate about the things that I do because I'm not one to just come home from work or come home from training and sit in front of the TV and watch TV. I don't like, if you ask me anything about sports teams, I'm not going to know. I don't watch football. I don't watch baseball.
But you played it, and I know you did because I looked.
Yeah, I played it, and I love it. It's just like anything goes. Like everybody says, like it's like baseball, for instance, is incredibly fun to play. Like it's a very skillful art, and it's one of the hardest things to do, be able to connect a bat and a ball at 9 miles per hour. But it's very difficult to watch.
It's like
TV.
watching the paint dry sometimes.
Yeah, so it's like, I mean, unless it's a big rivalry game or unless it's like, World Series, Super Bowl, and stuff like that, I'm not really interested. I'm more interested in seeing, what I could do, try to better myself and push myself to the next level.
Do you feel that all your experience in sports, because you're an athlete, prepared you for your fight career?
Yeah. Like you're talking about the rigors of, especially wrestling. Wrestling's one of the biggest things that has helped me in mixed martial arts. Just dealing with the idea of weight loss, and I was in second grade running around a gymnasium with a trash bag on. I was losing weight that way at that young of age, as well as football. In football, you're dealing with stuff like the high intensity heat and the pounding, and and being able to build up that fast twitch muscles, and then get into baseball. Like baseball actually works really well for MMA, because a lot of times people don't realize, like, when I'm punching, I'm rotating my hips like this. It's the same thing as swinging a bat. So, everything kind of ties into each other. The whole part, I believe the best mixed martial artists out there are people who are athletes, people who can adapt to different situations, who can arise to the occasion just because they've been placed in that situation before.
Absolutely. Now, what do you typically do to get ready for a fight in your fight camp? Because it does get a little bit more intense those weeks leading up, the 2-3 months leading up, more so than just a regular, training and doing your regular routine.
One of the biggest things, and I think a lot of people need to start understanding this too, is that to prepare for anything, you have to kind of reenact a lot of what you're going to deal with when it's game time. So it's like, for us, it's let's resemble that fight. Let's do what it's going to take to reenact what we're going to go through in that cage. So we're doing a lot of high intensity training, exactly how we're fighting. We're putting in, a lot of sprint works, hill works. We're doing plenty pad work. Like I said, this guy wants to fight, which is great. I got a guy who doesn't want to cuddle me for 3 rounds, So like, yes. So we're going to go. And of course, he's southpaw, so that adds to the challenge. So I'm running around. I'm putting Facebook searches out for, southpaws who are above 6'3", So we're doing a lot of different things. Basically, like I said before, just kind of reenacting what it's going to be like inside that cage, and just kind of establishing ourselves and making sure that we come out there as a presence to, don't mess with us. So I want to go through the mentality of, like, this guy made a mistake putting his name to that contract.
Where do you train out of?
I fight out of, of course, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, but it's a gym called the Academy. It's run by Kama Death Star Worthy, who is also another professional fighter. But that's been my home now for, I've been there, I think, 7 years since it's reopened from the flood. So
now you always come into your fights on point. How do you get there healthily with weight cutting? There's so many issues out there, but you're on point. You look great every time. How do you get there?
It's a combination of just, well, number one, I cut out beer. So I had to cut out beer, which is a pain in the butt, and pizza. Yeah. So those are 2 big factors. I cut them out. But I work with a great guy out of UFC PI, the Performance Institute in Las Vegas. His name's Clint Waterberg. He's a nutritionist out there, the dietitian. And basically we exchange phone numbers, and he contacts me about once a week and asks how my weight cut's going, and I let him know, well, I'm doing good, but I'm getting real sleepy during the day, or I just don't feel like myself when I'm sparring. And he'll add, he'll just add some stuff. Just like, all right, let's go ahead, let's add some more starch, let's add some more carbs at this particular time. High intensity training, you're gonna need more carbs. And so basically the idea is that I go throughout my whole camp constantly fueling my body, but on a smart basis. So your nutrition is really important, but in the end, it's just straight mentality. You have to be, number one, passionate about the sport. If you're not passionate about it, if you're just going in there trying to make money, it's going to be a long road. It's going to be painful for you. And then number two, it's have fun. I'm excited. I'm getting ready to fight in front of thousands of people. I'm getting ready to fight on the biggest stage, in the world. It's like, it's something that some small town kid like myself, like, this is what I wanted to do. And so when I go out there, I just got to, keep it in the back of my head. This is what I want to do. Other people go to their jobs and they work, 5 days, 6 days a week, sit behind a desk, working to help make somebody else rich. Yeah. When I'm actually living my dream. I'm living, something that I've always wanted to do. I've always wanted to be a professional athlete. I wanted to get paid to play, to hit people, to whatever it may be. And, I got that opportunity. So the whole leading up to the camp, I just keep that in the back of my head. Look where you came from. Look how far you made it. Keep going. The sky's the limit. And normally, just a good attitude going in there normally helps out the most.
Absolutely. And you're a very positive guy. So that's definitely a huge, big part of it, and a hurdle for people to get over, is just to get out of their own way half the time.
Yeah.
Back to the acting. I know I see that you do a lot of video work. You have your your songs are amazing too, by the way. And I didn't know that you were getting into acting. Is there maybe a future for you in commentary or in, interviewing fighters and stuff for the UFC?
I would not be opposed to that. Like I said, I have a lot of passion for the sport, and it goes beyond fighting. I love to see other people make it. I love to talk about their successful stories in mixed martial arts. Yeah, I mean, if there's an opportunity, I'm all for it. Just like we're doing now, it's fun. It's like really you're outside the box of what most people would say, like, how do you make money? No, I'm having a great time. I'm interviewing people and talking to people about their successfulness, and it makes me feel good. So I'm all about it. The acting is something that I've wanted to do for a really long time. I've had some experience in it, and that's a crazy thing. Mixed martial arts has really opened up that door for me. I had an opportunity. So my first movie I did was with Katherine Heigl and John Luciano. It was called for One for the Money. And I didn't know what to expect. They just brought me up. I thought it was going to be some B-rated movie. I didn't even know that, Catherine was in it. And they bring me up and they say, hey, we want you to go ahead and punch this bag, and they had like three $200,000 cameras all looking at me, people putting like the glycerin for sweat on me, and I had to hit, and I had such a blast. It was fun. And then I had an awesome opportunity to be a stuntman in the movie Foxcatcher. And I actually fought Channing Tatum at the end of that movie. A lot of people don't realize that because they cut the fight scene. But we spent 17 hours filming me and Channing just walking back and looking at each other. But I found it so exhilarating, and I found it very interesting how much work actually goes into these, just like a minute scene.
Oh,
like it's almost 17 hours, 18 hours. Prior to that, we were doing choreography. So it was very interesting to me, and that's why I want to continue being part of it.
And I mean, you have the look, you have the personality. So that, you said that, I said, oh, that's definitely a future thing for you, which is really great. I mean, because you have to be able to have that confidence and also be able to be coachable. I talk about that all the time. People just these days aren't, and it can be a big problem, especially if you want to, one, change careers, two, want to really go forward in what you're doing, and evolve, because things are always evolving. So if you can't learn from what someone's teaching you, it's never going to work. And again, martial arts has to be a big help with that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, just you got to be a sponge, especially that with being a mixed martial arts. Yeah, just like you were saying, the one thing is you got to be coachable. You got to be able to just soak in all the knowledge, even if you think that knowledge is wrong. There's little parts and pieces that could really help push you to the next level. And the same thing, I mean, if like one of my favorite things to do is just be in a room full of people who have made it, who have gotten to that level of successfulness, whether, it's acting or just businessmen. I love to sit down, and, the best thing that you can do in that situation is just shut up and listen, literally just open ears and listen to how these guys made it, because they made mistakes. They made, they have regrets in their life, but they're in this position. So you gotta just sit down, look at what they've gone through, find out how you can apply it to your life, and then just be a plant and grow. Do whatever you got to do to make it, and at all costs, always be passionate about what you're doing.
That's actually probably some of the best advice that you could give an up-and-coming fighter. And I'm going to really fast read some questions or comments off to you. And then I have some more stuff I want to talk to you about, more outside of your UFC and fighting career. Just little funny things that I learned about you. I was like, oh, shit, look at him. You do a lot of great stuff. All right. So you have from Mike Farron, War Milstead, and then Patrick O'Donnell said, "Get it, Adam. Glad to see that injury wasn't going to hold you back, bro."
Right.
Chris Mushaw, I think it said, "What's up?" Same thing from Jeremy Saffel. Joseph Tranmer said, "Get it, Adam." Wow, you got a lot of fans out there. Michael Clark said, "What's up?" from Calvert County. Deb Milstead. I don't know if Deb's your mom, sister, cousin, whoever, but Deb Milstead said,
Yep.
"Hey, Milstead from Ohio."
Yep. Hi. How's it
And
going?
Patrick O'Donnell said, "Do Pittsburgh proud."
Yeah.
My friend Nicole, she says hi. Caleb Dabash, can't pronounce his name really well, said, "Adam, you are then you are then brother." I think he might have said you're more than a brother. Frankie Anderson says hi.
Caleb, good. You know, I'm still praying for you, buddy. You know, so yeah.
You're awesome. My friend Justin Martin said, "Good stuff. He likes baseball and MMA." And a lot of people on here I know are big sports fans, so I think that's awesome. John Randolph said, "You got this, no sweat." Hey, Kyle Carroll, my buddy Kyle Carroll's watching. So you got a big fan base already, but that's because you interact with people. You don't just sit back and, post things and walk away. I see your interaction, which is another huge thing. Does that come from this, small town mentality kind of thing, which is a beautiful thing? Because I'm from Long Island, from a really small town in Centerport. It's in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah. Well, no, I'm like that. Just in general, it doesn't matter if I'm get to Dwayne Johnson type status. They're going to be like that guy. In fact, it would be really difficult if I got to that point. I'll be up every night trying to connect with these people. But I always tell people that I'm literally, and I don't mean to quote the Boondock Saints here, but I'm an ordinary guy put in an extraordinary situation.
Love that movie. You could quote that all day.
But literally, I'm just a small town guy, and no matter how far I make it, I want people to understand that I'm just Adam. I'm just some small town kid and just having a good time and loving life.
I love that. So you not only do fishing, but you take fishing to the next level. You had a kayak anglers bass tournament, which seems like that must have been a little bit rough. You placed third, which is huge. Is that your first time doing something like that?
No, I've been doing that now for about 3 or 4 years. And I didn't think I would like competitive fishing because you think about fishing to be kind of like, relaxing and stuff like that. But me being a competitor inside the cage and athlete in general, like it really got me motivated, and it was fun. And I could come in last place or I can come in first place. It's still fun to get out there. But what's most important about those things is I get a chance to meet new people. I met a couple new friends this year on a couple of the tournaments, and it's been great. It's like, you can win a little bit of stuff here, some prizes, some money and stuff like that. But the real prize is you get a chance to meet new people and make new friends. So.
Absolutely. Have you ever met, and I don't know if he's still in the game, and I'm just assuming, I mean, I've read about him because he does a lot of comical videos on YouTube. Kind of funny. Ed Bassmaster?
Ed Bassmaster.
I don't know what his real name is, but that's what he calls himself on YouTube. And if you don't know it, you've got to look him up. The dude's hysterical.
Yeah.
His comedy's a little out there, but from what I understand, that's how he became famous, or YouTube famous, whatever you want to call it, was from doing a bass fishing show.
No, that's awesome. Yeah, I'll check them out. We're always looking for people to kind of connect with too, especially on our little outdoor channel that we got going on. So.
Awesome. You're sponsored by a CBD company. Mm-hmm. A lot of people, it's the federal ban has been lifted on it, so we can talk about that pretty open. MMA UK is sponsored by a company. I can't remember the name off the top of my head. I'm a terrible person. What does that do for you in training, healing, bringing you to the next level and keeping you healthy? How has your experience been with that?
I want to first tell people that CBD is just an oil extract from hemp. It's not, doesn't have any THC in it. I mean, they'll say it has 0.0001%, but it's like it'll never show up on anything. So it's a completely safe product, especially the Pure Spectrum CBD is who is my sponsor is, and it has one of those things for me that's been such an issue for training is I get done, I work full time. So I work sometimes, 10, 12 hours on a pipeline. Then I get out, I jump in here, I grab my clothes, and then I go to the gym and I'll train till 10:30 at night. And I'm talking high intensity training.
Oh, yeah.
When I come home, I grab a shower, I'm still amped up from training. And the thing that CBD does is it kind of calms me down. It relaxes me a little bit to the point where I'm able to get a decent amount of sleep. And, I actually I was having trouble getting to my REM sleep, where you're actually dreaming and stuff like that. I would wake up and I don't think I dreamt, I didn't dream anything. But as soon as I took the CBD, I had some crazy dreams. And I was like, all right, at least I'm sleeping good now. So it helps with that, and also helps with inflammation. My knees, like I said, injury wise, my knees feel a lot better with that stuff. As well as whenever you're sparring a lot leading up to the fight, you're taking a lot of pounding on the brain. So the CBD actually helps with that too. I'm not very educated in the science of it, but I know for a fact that it has been proven that CBD does help with inflammation on the brain.
I wonder, there's so many, the science behind it is very, very incredible. I've spoken to so many people. I interviewed, I can't remember his name, from Turp House, and we spoke in length about it, about, receptors and things. So I'm wondering, does it break the blood-brain barrier, which is absolutely huge because there's very few things out there that do.
Yeah. That I've heard the same thing.
The fact that you're you're educated enough in it is huge. And I know I've been waiting to do a symposium on it because enough people won't talk about it. They're scared and it's taboo, and it's really not anymore. So if I ever do, I want you to come talk about that.
Yeah, maybe eventually the nation will come to its senses and legalize marijuana.
It's about to happen. Mark my words.
At least medical, that
When
way.
Sessions out of the way, it'll definitely happen. Everybody hates on me for that, but it's true. He needed to get out of the way for it to happen. And it's a state to state anyway. So it's enough states right now have it. And the benefits outweigh any risks. The New York State Department of Health did a huge thing on it and a study on it. And they said they recommend to make it recreationally legal because there's little to no risks. And maybe it would curb the opioid problem that we have here.
That's the main thing. I mean, especially, I've had good friends of mine who have passed away due to heroin overdose and just bad stuff in general. If it was easy for them to be able to work, use something else, I mean, marijuana would be great. Yeah. So
I've had 4 shoulder surgeries in the last. I had them basically all in a year and a half. Yeah, it was crazy, and I was very vocal with my doctor that that's all I was going to do. I said, I'm sober 10 years. I don't want anything else. And he goes, "You're really going to be able to get through this with just some marijuana and CBD?" I said, "Watch me, I will." And it's crazy because I just got a phone call the other day, and the guy, I said, "Hello," and he goes, "Hi, Kerry," and I said, "Hi, person I don't know." And he said, "Well, I wanted to talk to you about, you inquired something about pain management." And they were like, real pain management, not CBD or marijuana. And I was like, "Listen, first off, I don't know how you got my number. Please, we have a problem in this country." And he hung up on me.
Yeah, right. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you're talking about so many people just getting addicted just to painkillers. It's ridiculous. Oh, yeah.
A lot of them are just from injuries, and then they get, it's one after, it just kind of snowballs. So I think that being, vocal about it is huge. And I think that I thank you for even talking about it because a lot of people won't.
Yeah, no, I'll tell you, I'm all for it. I mean, we can make money off of it too. Help the economy out. You create jobs, you create businesses. It'll eventually happen. It will. I mean, you already saw Michigan take effect with it. So next, who knows? Who knows next? So.
You're very passionate about the military. You have a great love for the men and women in our military serving our country. Did you or do you have family members that did?
I didn't. Well, my grandfather, my dad's side, was actually in Pearl Harbor, but he died, but he did not die in the attack. He died in his sleep, unfortunately, to a heart condition. But he was in the Navy and stuff like that. Um, you know, I'm very passionate about it because I've realized, like, it's one thing for me to jump in a cage and fight, some other dude who, there's no life and death type of situation. Refs there, whatever, it's contracted, it's a sport. It's another thing to think about that these guys are going over there and literally risking their lives for an idea, for freedom, for an opportunity for us to continue doing what we love to do, for protection of this country. I mean, I'm all for it. I love the military, and at one point, I was actually in a recruiter's office, and
Me too. One day, back in the day.
yeah,
Yeah.
well. The only problem with me is by then I had already had too many knee surgeries, and I was sitting there listening to both the recruiters kind of arguing back and forth, and it was getting to the point I was getting nervous, and I said, guys, I was like, thanks, but I guess this isn't the road for me. So then I just stuck to professional fighting. So, but no, anybody who's ever enlisted, anybody who's ever sacrificed their time away from their families to go over and make sure that our freedom stays free. They got my complete respect, and I'm so honored to be around those particular people because, like I said, it's one thing to get in a cage and fight. It's totally another thing to risk your life for this.
Absolutely.
So they have my support 100% of the way.
Me too. And you have Tim Kennedy that retired and went back into the U.S. military. He's, I believe, a special forces sniper. Something. He's crazy. Yeah. That guy's got one of the coolest social medias ever. I have such respect for him. I was so sad to see him go, but you got to follow your passion. You got to follow what you love.
Absolutely.
And he has a great love for our military, and that's what his life has been. So it's like, all right, well, how can you hate that?
Yeah. I hope in the future that people start recognizing how much it is and an honor to actually do that and go over there and have enough pride and ability to do that, to give up, their time from their family for a greater purpose. Because I think nowadays it's like it's getting frowned upon, and there's, within America, you're having two different sides of people right now who are kind of back, and nobody wants to just flat out say you shouldn't do that, or like I heard something ridiculous a couple months ago. Somebody said that people enter the military because they have absolutely nothing left. It's like no, people enter the military because they have an idea about what freedom is, and they believe that this is worth fighting for. That the red, white, and blue, the American flag.
I love that. I love that.
I mean, that flag is worth fighting for, and it's a shame that today is built around politics rather than it is patriotism. But it is one thing in this country: you cannot force somebody to have patriotism towards something. You have to earn it, and I understand that. And that's where we're following. We're kind of falling off, because we're trying to force people to love the flag, and these people are naturally going to fight you about that. And then, it's like you have to earn the respect of everybody, and you have to find something that we can all come together on. And I believe if we all just found it within ourselves to look not as so much as a symbol, but as a personal idea that we are born in the greatest nation in the world. We're born in America where everybody else wants to come in. We're born in a situation where we get a chance to do whatever we want with our life because men and women died to protect our freedom. And if these people stop, instead of looking at the flag as a symbol, and started looking at the people who have gone and done this, and started recognizing them, and started kind of talking to them and conversing with these people, that they'll start understanding the beauty behind why America is so great. you know, because they didn't have to go. They didn't have to go to the military. Like all my military friends, I mean, right now, I love you guys. I wish I was on the front lines with you guys. I really would. You know, I would die for this nation. I would.
You're like my new favorite.
But I just, you know, if it's me kind of speaking to everybody out here, it's like, let's put the petty differences aside between whether or not you're a Democrat, Republican, we're all Americans. Let's come together for an idea that men and women are fighting for our very freedom. Don't put it on the flag. Don't put it on the president. Don't put it on politicians and diplomatic ideas. You know, the whole idea is literally to get behind that person that you're, you know, standing next in line in a grocery store, that they went and fought in Vietnam, they went and fought in World War II, they, you know, they did things that we couldn't even fathom, you know, but they're just ordinary people. If we could just get behind them, we can all come together. You know, I believe our military is what it should bring all of us together, you know.
It's the reason we're all allowed to bitch on Facebook and fight about it. If they didn't fight for our freedom to be able to do that, we wouldn't be able to take a knee on the field. And I mean, there's people in other countries that can't say boo about, you know, whoever runs their country, or they get killed. You know, so I don't know if it's that, well, it might be that drastic, you know, and that's the reality that we are that lucky. The UFC has done stuff with the troops. They've actually had fights. I believe it was overseas for the troops. How great would it be for you to be able to do that?
Oh, I would love that. I would love that. You know, I've always, you know, admired going to, I used to work a couple different jobs where we would go and contribute to the military and stuff like that. And I just, you know, I found it absolutely crazy that you go and you meet the wives and the children who don't see their dad for 2 years, like while they're on deployment. And so if they're over there busting their ass for us, I would love to go over anywhere they are and put on a show for them. I don't care what it is. I don't care if it's a backyard brawl to a big UFC event. You know, I'd be honored to do that.
I think that would be, I think they should definitely do that again. That would be really cool to see. How did you get into singing? And this will lead into my next question, which would be pretty huge for you, I think. And that's going to come after. But how did you get into singing?
Singing was just, you know, you started out like singing in the car. And then I got, you know, my dad, well, he was a big Queen fan, so we would always play Queen, and we'd always sing along with it, and you know, and then it was like 9th grade. I got into guitar in 9th grade. I took guitar class, and the reason why I wanted to play guitar is because I wanted to pick up chicks. So
I love it.
So I started playing guitar, and you know, I learned guitar, and it was just one thing led to another. I started singing, and then I started writing my own music. And then one day, I was just out of the clear blue. I decided, you know what, I'm going to record something real quick. So I recorded, kind of, you know, played over a little bit with another guitar, and then kind of submitted online just for, you know, shits and giggles. And it got a lot of good feedback. A lot of people like, oh, I didn't know you could sing. And I don't think I can sing. I believe I can carry a tune, and I can let the guitar do enough work that, but I don't know. It's just one of those things. It's like, if I got an opportunity, I'm going to see what I can do with it. You know, if it, you know, I play in my church. So, you know, I do acoustic for my church, and then I
love that.
like I said, I got an opportunity to go into a recording studio, so I've been practicing and working my vocals a good bit. So
one of my favorite days in church, and it's, you know, I go very often. And when I go on Sundays, it's not all the time that they have the choir. They'll have a guitarist there, but when they do, it's just so much fun. I love it so much. They had the kids choir there last weekend. It was great. It makes me want to get involved. Like, I want to sing too.
Right? Yeah, you can't not leave that place not feeling good. You know, like it's
just said that today to my friends.
Yeah. So
You just said an hour in church does more than an hour in a therapist's office could ever do for me. Like literally,
oh,
I live there. I leave there just feeling great. I get in there. I feel great when I'm in there. I've never met so many, people think that, religious people are judgmental, but they're not. I walk into a church, the first thing we all do is say hello to each other.
yeah.
I mean, you don't get that anywhere else.
You don't get that in the real world, that's for sure. You're sitting there every day, you're sitting in traffic, and and people are honking at you and stuff like that. And you just building up, building up, building up, and then Sunday comes, and it's a shame that it's only one day a week,
I know.
And it's a shame that a lot of people, it's why not through the whole week. But that's the way the world works.
My church does. They do a service at noon every day.
Wow, wow.
Yeah, it's great. If I'm having a
Yeah.
bad day, I make sure I clear my calendar for noon, and I go down there, and it's an hour. People are like, "Oh, you really go to church?" I do. I'll go on Saturdays at 5 o'clock. If it's open, I'm going. It's better than going to a bar for me. I don't drink, so unless I'm going to shoot pool, I'm not going to go and hang out. It's just is what it is.
Nice.
What would be really cool, I think. I know the UFC. I don't think they've ever done it where they've had somebody sing the national anthem live. Would you ever do that or approach them to maybe have you do that?
I would do that, and I'd be it's nerve-wracking. It's like that's the thing about I can get in a cage and fight with anybody in front of thousands of people, no issue. But the one thing about singing, and it's actually more difficult for me than it is fighting, is literally getting up in front of people and singing, because the one thing that a lot of people don't realize, all eyes are on you.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very vulnerable situation. A lot of people don't know how to handle it. I'm still getting used to it. Like I got a buddy of mine who's putting on it's called the Yacht Defense Party. It's a tribute to kind of help out, or like a charity to help out the a whitewater river that we have here,
All right.
the Yacht River. But they play music down there and stuff like that. And they always ask me to come play. I played one year and I bombed only because I couldn't, literally, it's so hard to hear in there. I couldn't even hear myself. I didn't know I was in tune or not. So, but it's one of those things, like, you literally have to be comfortable with being vulnerable when you're singing. So really difficult, but I'd be down for it. If someone asked me to sing national anthem, I'd be honored, because I'm a patriot. I'm American. I love America. So
I love it. You were like literally my new favorite. And I've been following you on social media for, I think about 2 years. I've known you for a while on there, and you've always been a person that I've been looking out for. And you have just such a fun, just looks like you have a great life outside of fighting. And, a lot of people don't know, they'll know you from the cage and then maybe from a YouTube video. And that's why I like to get into questions that just aren't about your fight career, because that's great. And UFC is great, but there's so much about you that people might not know, that it's like, well, there's just levels. You can just peel levels off.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, I'm like I said, you peel off the UFC banner and the whole fight status thing, and like I said, I'm just an ordinary guy that just loves life and likes to have fun.
I think my dream for you would be to see you sing that at a UFC and have like Dave Navarro come out and do the guitar, because they did that, or you out there with your guitar, because they did that at Bellator, and it was just one of the most special things I've ever witnessed. It was amazing. It really was. It was like breathtaking for me. I was like, oh, I was so excited. Yeah. And you don't see people sitting down. Everybody's standing up. It's just, for me, MMA is a little bit different. I've been involved in so many different industries, and whenever I go to a fight and they play the national anthem, regardless if it's ours or Russia's, which they did at a Bellator, everybody's standing.
Yeah.
Everybody's happy to do it. Nobody, you know what I mean? And it's a different, and I think because it's so diverse and so cultural, like how the Olympics is, when you see, I can't pronounce his first name, Bolt is his last name, when he stopped his interview. He stopped it. He was like, the national anthem. We were interviewing Kayla Harrison at Pro Fighters League, and she stopped us in the press interview and said, hold on, they're playing the national, and a bunch of us turned around, and it was just great to see that, because you don't see that often, and she's an Olympian, so you're gonna see that.
Well, right, and that's the thing. I hate to say it, but you know, good news does not sell. You know, and it's bad news. It's drama. It's negativity. That's what people want to view. It's what sucks. That's why I've completely, pretty much stopped watching like the news. I just get all my stuff through forums and stuff
Me
like that. So yeah, so I just I'd rather go to there. You know, I don't want to hear about crashes and people dying and gun violence and
I
stuff
know.
like that. You know, because they'll draw everybody in on one little thing that happens. You know, but there was probably, you know, 1,000 awesome, amazing things that happened that day that
Yeah.
nobody's going to talk about because, you know, it's just like if you're doing anything good, you're like, if you're a good worker and you work hard, but you know, had a fender bender at work or something like that, everybody's going to remember you having a fender bender. And that's what sucks. That's
Yeah.
life drama. That's the idea. People pull together behind drama instead of positivity. So, you know, it's unfortunate.
It's so true. And back to MMA. Uh, did you? I know like a lot of people get into MMA for, you know, multiple reasons. You've already stated yours. Was there ever like a fight that you were watching back in the day that was like, yeah, I can do this? Like, is there a pinnacle fight that you watched? Because a lot of people do have, like, I have my favorite 3 fights of all time that maybe solidified it for you as a career.
Uh, it was exact opposite. It
Oh.
was, you'll never catch me in that cage, you know, watching. It was the Forrest Griffin and Stephen Bonner fight.
I talk about that. That's my favorite fight of all time.
These guys, I remember because it was free. Everybody was watching it. It was all, you know, I think it was like, well, that was the first Ultimate Fighter. And
First time on national television.
Yeah, on national television. And me and my dad were sitting there watching this, and these guys were just bam, bam, hit each other in the face just nonstop. And I'm like, oh my God. I was like, you'll never catch me in a cage. These guys are crazy. That's why I'm going for football, you know. Now look at me now, you know. But,
I remember, I think mine was a couple big fights. That was one of them. Watching Chris Cyborg and Gina Carano was another huge one for me. And I'll never forget, my dad goes, you know, he was so funny. He comes into my room. He's like, you got to come watch this shit. There's this really pretty blonde beating the piss out of this other girl. And he's like, you could be doing that. And I'm like, I go in, it's Ronda Rousey and Strikeforce. And I think he was fighting Misha Tate, which was another pinnacle fight for women everywhere. And it's huge. You know, it's the biggest thing for me is that you guys are so approachable, right? And people don't realize that. They're like, wow, you really, you know, you get along. And I'm like, you don't understand. Mixed martial artists fighters are some of the coolest people you'll ever meet, and they'll talk to you. You go to a fight, people, I've been to so many UFC fights, and there's just fighters everywhere that are on the roster but not fighting that night. It's so much fun.
Yeah.
It's the best environment ever. Do you go and watch fights often when you're not on the card?
More or less. I kind of, I'm all about support local, you know. So I go and I support the guys who haven't made it. I go to all the lower end shows and the stuff, the shows that I fought on, and support the younger guys who are coming up through the ranks because, you know, I lived that life many years, and if I can offer some advice to them, I help them out. You know, sometimes, you know, I'll do some motivational speaking to the guys and try to get amped up before the fight. So I do that. And then of course, if there's a UFC fight anywhere close to Pittsburgh, I'll ask the UFC, hey, can I go? And they'll comp me some tickets, and I get a chance to take my girlfriend out. And the last one we went to was in Pittsburgh. We also went to the one where Steve Bay fought Overeem in Cleveland. So we went to that one too. So
that's awesome. Yeah, I mean, you know what? That really is great that you support local mixed martial arts organizations and fighters, because you know, that's a big part of it. You know, remembering your roots and where you came from. And lucky for you, King of the Cage makes a lot of stops in Pennsylvania, where, I mean, I think it's just that mixed martial arts is so mainstream now, because I remember you couldn't get, at least from New York, you couldn't get close to a fight for years, and all that was going on was these underground fights, and I was just laughing like, I'm not going to that shit. I watched the UFC. What are you guys, crazy? You think I'm gonna? Yeah. And now I love going to them, because it's like, it's just, oh, it's so much fun. And to see the up and comers and see people, you know, grow I watch
Yeah,
people grow and turn pro, and that you can't get a better relationship than that with a fighter.
absolutely. Yeah, I agree. I agree. Some of these guys, like for me, it's strange, especially if you're in a heavier weight division in a regional area or a regional show. A lot of the guys that you tend to fight are people that you've either trained with or you know personally and stuff like that. So it's funny. A lot of my sparring partners are guys that I had fought in the regional shows. Like like we get done fighting. Oh, good fight. Hey, you want to train together next week? I need some bigger guys. I'm
That's
like,
awesome.
yeah, let's do it. So it's cool to see that. And you see the like I'm talking low end stuff, like barroom type stuff,
I know.
and like fighting in barns. I fought in barns before. I fought outside. So and watching these, some of these are, there's some train wrecks out there as far as promotions go. There's just it's exciting to watch it all unfold because you see things that are just. I remember my very first fight. I was nervous. I'd never been in a fight my entire life. I'm getting ready to fight some dude I have absolutely nothing against. I'm like, what do I do? How am I supposed to act? So I'm outside beating myself up about this, and there's a guy next to me. He's got MMA gloves, but he's pulling out a pack of cigarettes. He couldn't smoke the whole pack of cigarettes, and then he went in and fought. And then I've watched guys step on a scale drunk.
Oh
So
my gosh.
I've seen the works, but yeah. So you don't know what you're gonna see, but the fun thing, the real fun thing, the real cool thing about supporting these regional shows is that you get a chance to find that fighter that, oh, that kid right there, I know he's gonna make it. He's got talent. So.
Do you have any plans to start teaching and coaching, or do you already, with your fighting or after fighting?
I do. I was a head coach for the gym that I was at when so the history behind our gym was that it flooded out and it was vacant for years. And then some good friend of mine, Mick, who decided to rebuild the gym, and he invited me up, and I was a head coach at that gym for about 3 to 4 years until I decided I had to focus on me more for my career. I love teaching, and most importantly, I love teaching kids. If I could teach, especially a kid who gets bullied at school and stuff like that, those are the types of kids that I want to work with. Those are the kids that I want to bring in and kind of, push a little bit of knowledge and some confidence on. I think that's a really something that I could look into doing after my career. So yeah.
That's super solid, wanting to be a mentor in that respect. And, I was just talking to a friend of mine about that today. Kids that come from, either broken homes or they're bullied in school or whatever. Even the bullies, those kids that are bullying are doing it because they're having issues that everybody doesn't know about.
Yeah.
And it's sad because that kid could be getting the shit kicked out of him by his parents at home. So for me, like, I not only look at the bully, but I'm like, you come here, let's talk. I'm like, what's going on with you? Why are you so angry? You know what I mean? And I think that comes from your background, with going to church and doing everything that you do. And that's just so huge because, a lot of people, they don't think about that, and that's what's going to shape our future. I mean, I don't want to sound like the song "The Children Are Our Future" and sound like an idiot, but it's true. And I feel like that's going to shape you as an adult too.
Right.
Being able to help somebody else and show somebody else a better life, and how you could gain confidence, not only learning how to defend yourself and learning how to fight. There's so many other things that you can gain from martial arts.
Right. And best thing I could say is, like, as a teacher, one of the best teachers is a teacher who still learns. And that's somebody who is, when I coached, I kept learning. I learned things about myself. I learned whether or not it's techniques or if it's just internally and emotionally, how you learn to speak to different people on different levels. You understand that kid, like you said, come from a broken home, so now you can place yourself, because I've come from a home like that myself, and growing up in motels and people's basements, it sucked as a kid. and I can work with them on a personal level. So you learn more about yourself teaching than I think you do actually learning when you're moving through the ranks.
Oh God, you're like we could talk for hours. You so many things in common. It's not even funny, but you know what? I feel like that when I can look at a person and say, okay, well, this person's cool and we could talk, but then you can talk to a person and really get on a personal level. Then it's usually something that you have in common from your past or from whatever. I came from a weird situation. My parents were divorced. My mom was an asshole. People are like, oh, you only get one mother. I'm like, unless your mom's civil, not trying to be a jerk, and I don't want to talk shit about her, but it happens. So, to be able to overcome all that and help somebody else, that's as big as it can get. And I know you worked all day. Oh, no, you didn't. You said you didn't work today, but you usually do. I know that you have a crazy training schedule and usually work, 12 hours? 6 to 6 or something. That's crazy. Most people don't even work 8 hours a day. You're a provider. I love that. And there's no secret why you're called a prototype. So I just think that it's everything about you, and you have just such a great future ahead of you, not just in fighting. I can't wait to see what you do in acting. Anything that you have out there you want to share, tag me in it. I will definitely share it for you. Put it on all of our social media. We'll hook you up. And is there anybody that you want to thank, or anything that you want to talk about that I didn't ask you that you want to get out there? The floor is yours.
Well, nothing right off the top of my head as far as I just want to say thank you. Number one, Kerry, thank you so much for, this has kind of been a very, a different type of perspective in this interview. Like, I like it, it's cool. I hope to do this again with you.
Oh, definitely. I like to have a conversation with someone and really get to know them, because you guys do enough fight interviews where it's the same question over and over and over. And I see those interviews. I read them. My friends are all journalists, and it's great, but it's the same typical thing. So I like to I want to pick your brain and find out what makes you makes you tick and everything. So no, we could do as many interviews as you want. I'm so down for that. And I thank you for taking an hour out of your Friday night. I don't know what you do on Friday nights, but I really don't do much.
That's all good. So thank you so much for having me. And to everybody who commented and stuff like that, just thank you guys for supporting me and pushing me in the right direction. I tell you what, this is an extremely tough career, and it's relatively a short career, but you make the sacrifice and the pain and misery and all the surgeries and injuries that I go through very much worth it. So I want to say thank you to those individuals. My beautiful girlfriend, who's probably somewhere in here, this house, or somewhere else watching this, and then my family, all my friends, my sponsors, people who continuously support me. Just thank you so much. It's definitely been a blessing.
Where can everybody find you on social media? You can plug your YouTube channel, whatever you have going on, plug it all.
Yeah, at Adam Milstead is pretty much everything from Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and I got a YouTube channel where I'm starting to kind of put my little influence of music out there, so people can kind of view that if they want to see how bad I sing. And then
you sing great.
And then I have that outdoors channel going on. We're actually on a regional channel down in North Carolina, Virginia. We only have one episode airing right now, so it's a very small cable company that's airing our stuff, but it's called The Thirsty Outdoorsman. Go and check us out, and guys, hit me up, send me messages. I'll get back to you as much as I can. So like I said, thank you guys so much, and thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, Adam, and I can't wait to see what you got going on in the future. I can't wait to interview with you again, and I look forward to seeing your fight December 15th, UFC Fight Night in Milwaukee. Kick some ass, take some names, and I'll talk to you later.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you again. All right, guys, that was Adam Milstead. Amazing guy, UFC fighter. I can't speak enough accolades of him. He is just such a great person. Give him a follow on social media at Adam Milstead, and message him, because he will actually talk to you. He will message you back. He's a really nice guy. And again, give us a follow here on MMA UK, a like and a share. You can also find us on Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube at We Are MMA UK, and on the internet at MMAUK.net. You can also find me, Kerry Stellar, everywhere. It's at Kerry Stellar on Instagram. You can find me on Facebook, Twitter, Stellar79, and in the Girls Corner, everywhere. So guys, thank you so much for hanging with me on a Friday. Thank you for everybody that asked questions and commented. I can't wait to do another interview with Adam. And again, guys, have a wonderful weekend. UFC Fight Night Saturday should be great. I'm going to be doing a live results for you guys here on MMA UK. So again, happy Friday and have a great weekend. Thanks, guys.